Joseph Young here, music director of the Berkeley Symphony. Since we couldn't come together for a March concert, we thought it would be a great idea to put together a YouTube playlist that featured the repertoire from our concert entitled New Perspectives. This was a concert I was really looking forward to. It was going to feature Sean Jones on the trumpet, someone who we actually featured on our gala in May. And it was also going to feature the Berkeley High School Jazz Combo. Before we start the playlist, I thought I would give a little bit of insight on each of the pieces. Was a composer who left home and moved to the big city of Paris when he was 17. He arrived in time to witness Stravinsky and the Ballet Russe scandal with The Rite of Spring. He saw Debussy at the Paris Opera. His first experience with jazz was in London, and he became pretty obsessed, and he wanted to get closer to the source. So in 1923, he made his first trip to the United States, and he made his way to Harlem. It was there he heard artists like Duke Ellington and bands like the Paul Whiteman Band in uptown nightclubs. He really liked the frenzy of improvisation he heard in the United States, much more than the highly arranged style in Europe. And he really thought jazz was the new beginning. The ballet contains 6 sections that are played seamlessly. The first one is a solemn overture that features the solo alto saxophone, which you hear right now. The curtain opens and it reveals the darkness and the chaos before the world begins. When the curtain rises, it reveals Léger's striking kind of backdrop rising from the floor, and the cubist kind of rendering of these 3 African deities who are looking over the void before creating the world. In this section of the music, you can imagine the deities overlooking this chaos of pre-creation, and Milieu uses a musical jazz fugue to accent this lack of order. Then, this beautiful oboe solo. It's an important musical moment. The theme signifies the creation of plants, insects, and animals. I think this piece is one of the most special chamber orchestra works. I really hope that I can bring it to you at Berkeley soon. The next 2 pieces feature our trumpet soloist. Gunther Schuller's Journey into Jazz explores one boy's journey from classical music to jazz. It's a 20-minute work weaving snippets of music around Nate Hintoff's children's book by the same name. Nate Hintoff was an author and a jazz critic. He wrote for the New Yorker, the Washington Post, and the Jazz Times. This work is a work for orchestra, jazz quintet, solo trumpet, and narrator, and together it tells the story of Edwin Jackson, a boy who loves music and learns to play classical trumpet. He then discovers a group of boys playing jazz in a house down the street, and he desperately wants to play with them, but first he has to learn what jazz is. It's sort of a blend of Britten's The Young Person's Guide to the Orchestra and Prokofiev's Peter and the Wolf.
Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. Nobody knows but
Zimmerman's Trumpet Concerto, Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen, is an important 20th century work for trumpet. The work combines a chorale prelude over a spiritual, 12-tone theme and variation, and jazz. I think the choice of spiritual Nobody Knows the Trouble I've Seen and the fusion of jazz and 12-tone themes comes from Zimmerman's own grief over racism and his desire for racial harmony. He was a composer who obsessively focused on themes of social injustice, and this can be seen as a political gesture, a protest against what Zimmerman perceived as racial hatred. In this piece, he drew from racially influenced American musical tradition, but his own experience in Nazi Germany allowed him to directly observe the effects of racism.
nobody knows
Despite the somber subject matter, I think this is a really awesome piece. The orchestra includes a full big band saxophone section, Hammond organ, electric guitar, jazz, clarinet, and trombones, solos. Um, this concerto really takes you on a journey. Sometimes I feel I'm in a nightclub, and then the Hammond organ gospel sections takes me to church, and the soloist guides us through this emotional journey. In Berkeley, we were going to have Sean Jones as our soloist, and he would like to say a few words to all of you in Berkeley.
Greetings to all of my friends in Berkeley, California, especially my friends with the Berkeley Symphony Orchestra. My man Joseph Young hit me up a little bit ago, and he said, even though we weren't able to perform the Zimmerman Trumpet Concerto a little while ago, we're going to reschedule, and we're going to do it even better than we planned before. I'm so sorry I wasn't able to be with you a little while ago, but believe me, my spirit, my heart is still with you and will always be with you. And I'm looking forward to playing this magnificent piece of music. And it's hard, y'all. So I'm not even gonna lie. I'm glad I got a little more time to shed it. But we're gonna play it and be ready. I'm excited. See you all very soon. Take care of yourselves. Bless you. Stay strong.
Not many pieces of classical music can claim to have inspired a series of ballets, movies, and musicals, but Gershwin, American in Paris, has done all of that. Written after Gershwin's widely popular jazz-influenced concert pieces like Rhapsody in Blue and the Piano Concerto in F, An American in Paris had big musical shoes to fill. It debuted in 1928 and became instantly popular with many repeat performances. But the journey of American in Paris begins in 1926 when he took a trip to Paris. As a gift to his host family, Gershwin wrote a small piece called Very Parisian, which he expanded 2 years later into American in Paris. Gershwin structured the music around the idea of an American walking through the streets of Paris, and he included that in what he called the walking themes. Along the way, our American comes to some very colorful moments, piercing squawks of Paris taxi horns, which Gershwin actually imported from Paris. He purchased these pitched taxi horns to replicate the sound of the Parisian streets. I think it's pretty amazing he captured that clearly in his music. With those horns, he created this agitation of the streets. This trumpet solo in the blues section, our American is feeling a bit homesick. Gershwin uses this distinct American music to bring us a bit of nostalgia. His homesick daydreams are then swept away by another American dance that was actually taking Europe by storm at the time, the syncopated Charleston. And Gershwin introduces this as well with another solo trumpet. This is what I call the Gershwin Finale. It's kind of directly related to the traditions used in finales of musical numbers in Broadway shows and Hollywood films of the 1930s and 40s. This loud, colorful, unison statement. As we all self-isolate, I hope you enjoy the playlist. We put together some great performances, but nothing can beat live music. The sound, the fellowship can't be matched. I hope to see you all really soon. Be well and stay safe.